Well, good morning, everyone. I am not Larry. I apologize, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, for the little bit of a disruption in the schedule. Things are busy, as you can imagine, on the Hill right now, and we've got some committee meetings that are coming up here at the 10 o'clock hour. So I am trying to do it all. And being the true Alaskan that I am, I have not been deterred by the mere thought of snow coming our way. So I'm glad you are all here in this building with no windows. You can just pretend it's a beautiful, bright, sunshiny day out there while all the chaos reigns around you. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. President McCarroll, I appreciate your invitation. I want to acknowledge my friend Brian Ridley, the NCAI's vice president, a friend from TCC. We appreciate you so much. President Clinton Cook. Where's Clint? Is Clint not here? He's not here. Well, he does a great job as alternate VP. But know that I appreciate the great work that you do on representing Alaska at the national level through NCAI. I know that some of you are here from Tlingit Haida. I see my dear friend Joe Williams back there, and probably some others as I'm looking out. But when I am home, oh, there we go. We got him right here in the middle. When I'm home in Alaska, I am often introduced by my gifted name, which is Anshawatki, which in Tlingit means Lady of the Land. I was adopted into the Tlingit Deshitan clan. It's a tribute and an honor that I carry with me and a responsibility. Thank you. Thank you. It's a responsibility that I have not only to the Deshitan, but to all of Alaska's peoples. And I know my friends from Alaska have traveled long distances to be here, but I know that many, many of you have as well. So thank you. It's important that you're here. So we're at the beginning of the 119th Congress. In this Congress, I'm proud to be able to serve as the chairman of the Indian Affairs Committee. I'm taking over the reins from my friend and my colleague, Senator Brian Schatz from Hawaii. He has done a great job. He will now be my vice chair. We've been partners together, Alaska and Hawaii, but also representing all of you across Indian country. The committee is a really good place. It's a place where bipartisanship really exists. We don't just talk about it, we do it. The fact that my good friend Tina Smith just spoke before me, the initiatives that we work on to benefit Native peoples everywhere, regardless of a party, whether we're talking about what we're going to do with the murdered, missing Indigenous women crisis, what we do together to work on violence against women, funding for critical infrastructure in the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. We're doing this together, not in a partisan way. A little bit of a detour, if I may, to share some news with you that I think is important. After more than 140 years, the United States government formally apologized for the military bombings of 3 Tlingit villages in Alaska. This was something that I had been working on for years, working with Rosita Worrell at Sea Alaska Heritage to really elevate this issue so that the Navy and the Army would know of the unjust bombings in the late 1800s in these Tlingit villages. And so to finally, after all these years, see this show of respect and acknowledgement from the military, this will be a first step towards healing. And so I think news like this is important to share before a group of respected leaders like you. Listening is really the way to show respect. And as we show respect, I'm just going to do another reminder of some of what we in Alaska show great respect to. I introduce myself as Anshawatki, Lady of the Land. Well, part of our land are our mountains, and our greatest mountain is Denali. It is the tallest peak in North America. For those of you who are not familiar, the Koyukon Athabascan named this mountain Denali, maybe 10,000 years or so, give it take a little bit. But it has been the name of this mountain, and the name translates to the Great One. What more appropriate name for the largest peak in North America? Denali, the Great One. And so I cannot think of a better way to honor the greatness of indigenous peoples, those who have stewarded this land for tens of thousands of years, than by preserving the traditional name that they gave it. That's how we honor the greatness of these Americans. So know that we're going to keep working on this initiative to recognize our Native people in this way. You can't start out a conversation here this morning with you without recognizing the environment that we are in right now in Washington, D.C. To describe it as challenging and chaotic is probably minimizing it. I know that the impacts of the executive orders, especially the OMB memo that freezes federal funding, many of you have been up at night wondering how you're going to continue the services that so many rely on. So we're working on this, working to get to the bottom of this. First, we need to know the scope of the problem. So what I have been doing is holding listening sessions by Zoom with whether it's tribal leaders, whether it's those that are in our social services, whether it's our community leaders, federal employees. I'm trying to understand firsthand the concerns about the impact of that halt in funding. On the Committee on Indian Affairs, we have created an oversight email box for stakeholders to send in their immediate concerns. So we're tracking these ongoing issues. We've had a lot of folks say that they're still having trouble accessing the grant portal. So we've got examples in Alaska, clearly, of what that means. We've got a pretty short construction season. You can probably imagine. You have to have waters that are not choked with ice. You have to have the ability to actually put things in the ground when things aren't frozen. And so for many parts of our state, you miss the shipping window, and you miss not just a construction season, you miss a whole year. So we've made a case to the folks over at OMB. I've made it directly to the secretaries of all the federal agencies to restore funding and ensure the executive orders as they relate to DEI and environmental justice do not hurt our tribal programs. Last week, I sent a letter. I met with Russ Vogt, but then I followed on with a letter emphasizing the relationship between Indian tribes and the federal government. You all know it. It's not based on race, it's based on political status. And so the message to them was very clear. Coming out of OMB, we need them to reaffirm the status of tribes as political entities and to direct all federal agencies to ensure that the tribes and the related funding that they receive are not affected by any of these executive orders. And when you think about the rationale behind all of this, the federal government is charged with moral obligations of the highest responsibility and trust towards Native Indian tribes. And it's that trust responsibility that we're talking about here. And so when you think about other federal programs, when you are talking about tribal base, when you are talking about programs for our tribes, this is a different category altogether, folks. So the Department of Interior had started off right. It was the acting secretary at the time issued a secretarial order. DOI takes the approach that nothing in the order should affect the statutory, treaty, and/or trust obligations of the department and its bureaus. So that was good, and we used that to OMB to say, follow the Department of Interior's role on this. We just received a follow-up letter from HHS, from their general counsel, agreeing that the DEI executive order does not apply to programs serving American Indians and Alaska Native people. So this is good. They're getting the message here. So that's positive. But while we have all of these commitments, I'm going to ask you to continue to share with me, with our Indian Affairs Committee, what you're seeing. We're tracking it. We're pushing it everywhere we can. We're also at a time when we're looking at government efficiency. I think we all want to have improved efficiency in the federal government. It should be the goal for every administration, every agency, every federal employee. But how we achieve it matters. It matters. These efforts need to follow proper channels. They need to follow the procedures that we have in place. They should not, they cannot, they must not undermine the obligations that we have to tribes, and they have to follow the law. It's a pretty simple premise here. Yeah. So we're gonna get through this. I have described the last couple of weeks as choppy. Those of us from Southeast know that choppy weather crops up. It can be really uncomfortable. It can cause a lot of just stuff going on. But eventually, things calm down. You find a safer harbor, a better approach. In the meantime, I think we got people vomiting off both sides of the boat, and it's just kind of tumultuous now. So, to the point of efficiency, and I'll wrap my comments here, but we have seen how tribes improve the efficiency of federal services. And it's called the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act, ISDEA. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary of this landmark law. And when tribes contract and compact services to deliver them at the local level, that's all about accountability. And you see improved responsiveness. I've certainly seen it through the Alaska Tribal Health Compact. This is the largest multi-party compact in the country. But the fact of the matter is you're the experts on the ground. You're the experts on compacting and making sure that federal dollars make a difference for your citizens and your communities. Now, I've spoken to this before, but what works in one part of the country may not be the right fit in other parts of the nation. And I want to, again, acknowledge and thank Chief Brian Ridley for his work to open lines of communication about how Alaska is just a little bit different due to ANCSA. He and other leaders point out the unique challenges and opportunities that are presented by Alaska's versions of self-determination. And I want to acknowledge you, President Maccaro, for your statement earlier. But I think in Alaska, we recognize this is a model where partnerships between federally recognized tribes and Alaska Native corporations are essential to self-determination. 40% of the federally recognized tribes in the United States call Alaska home, a full 40%. At the same time, ANCs are landowners of millions of acres across the state. Tribes, in some instances, are asking Congress to enable a unified approach to protecting and managing lands in Alaska. And this would not make ANCs added to the federally recognized list or make them sovereign. But when it comes to things like forest health or certain types of infrastructure projects, taking into account this different governance framework will add capacity to steward natural resources while respecting tribal sovereignty at the same time. So know that my office is open. We are listening. We are talking through any questions that folks may have. So I want to end my comments this morning by expressing hope that we're going to build on the good progress that we made over the last two Congresses. We've got an oversight hearing tomorrow to hear more about your priorities. I think we're going to have some of you actually in the committee room testifying, but it's going to be on everything from housing to healthcare to law enforcement, expanding self-governance, so many more. We're just getting started. We're just getting rolling in the 119th, and I am looking forward to the good work that we will do together. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you this morning. Have a great conference.